All right. Hello there, all of you gamers and gamer adjacent folk. And welcome to another edition of Squid School. Today, we are going to be kicking things off with a Metafy lesson for, is it Saaya? Is that how that's pronounced? I probably should have asked before we went
Uh,
live, huh?
it's just you can just say Saaya.
Saaya. Gotcha. Okay. Um, so we're going to be watching Saaya's Splattershot Jr. here. Um, and then after that, so that'll be probably about an hour or maybe a little over. And then we'll do maybe a little bit of Q&A. It'll be a slightly shorter stream today than usual. But that's not saying much because I usually just stream until I'm tired. So let's get started here. So we've got tower control on Hammerhead Bridge. Absolutely lovely map mode. Just the quality trash. It is it's very very snowbally. Is a big problem with this map in general. Very prone to spawn camping and all sorts of other lovely occurrences. So I like the map checking, and I'm oh my goodness. I'm trying to get a pause frame where I can see all the weapons here. There we go. So we've got relatively decent team comp on your side. I think the biggest problem you guys are going to have is forward pressure. And then on their side, they are lacking a backliner. So while Jet Squelcher is not necessarily my preferred anchor on Splatoon 3 comp right now, the Jet Squelcher will be able to hit whoever they want before that other player can hit them. So as long as they play their range well, they should be able to bully the other team pretty well and be a pretty big impact on this game. The biggest thing that you'll need to worry about in order for that Jet Squelcher to function is the Range Blaster. The Range Blaster does pose a pretty significant threat as they can attack the Jet over ledges and things like that from angles that the Jet can't hit as a line of sight weapon. So that's what's going on with our kind of backline matchup, and that's something I'm always thinking about. Unless
Uh,
that's a
I,
vanilla blaster. Looking at it,
I
I'm not sure. Is that a vanilla blaster? It looks a little shorter than the range blaster on your team.
I have a quick question,
Yeah?
if you don't mind, because usually, like, because you're talking about it, usually, sometimes there's just like comps where like I'm like the most obvious frontline, only one. Um, but it's like scenarios like this that I like struggle with because it's like I know that I have to be the one that's up there and like has the pressure, but I don't have as much like kill pressure as like maybe like other weapons. So I guess I just want like some more tips on like what I can like think of a match if I'm like the most obvious only frontliner that can like put a lot of pressure on the other team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is a good question. To really quickly answer a question in chat, this is recorded with a capture card because this is an entire stream. You can see it's a 3-hour, 52-minute thing, and it goes through multiple different games here. So they were just streaming with a capture card earlier, is what was happening here. So going back to that question, the junior, it can play aggressive in certain situations, and you don't necessarily want to like force the weapon outside its comfort zone, but you want to recognize like the junior can do X, Y, and Z things. X things maybe being more aggressive and Z things being less aggressive. And so you want to pick from the range of things your weapon can do that lean towards the more aggressive side, given that nobody else is going to be able to do those as well. Now, the Mini can absolutely play pretty far forward and help you with fights. The Blaster, as soon as you start skirmishing anything, the Blaster, if they're anywhere near you, should be able to help clean those fights up. So you're going to have some support from the midline here and the anchor when they're behind you. When you aggress, you're generally going to need to have the support of those players, but if you do, you can definitely make some things work. I think one of your strategies here should be to initiate a fight to get someone's attention while you're in front of people who can win that fight for you. And that's really kind of the goal there. You can do a lot of that sort of thing with Big Bubbler, for example. You can set up a Big Bubbler so that suddenly someone's forced to approach right into your range to be able to take you out, which is usually a mistake against a junior. Junior does have a pretty fast time to kill if you're in range and it doesn't just get ruined by its accuracy. So you got to be really careful, even as, you know, a stronger slaying weapon on paper, if you have to push into the bubble. So that's an option. But what I'd like to do here is to get the match moving and see what situations we end up finding ourselves in, and kind of address what we might do from there. Because we can talk about this in the abstract, but we have to see how our team plays around it too. It is looking like that is a vanilla blaster. Sorry, do you have a question?
Oh, no, I was just saying, okay.
Gotcha. It is looking like that's a vanilla blaster instead of a range blaster on the other team. We'll see when the match actually gets started. But so the big advantage your team has over them is range. So you don't need to go in and aggress them at their range a lot of the time here. What you could do is just like throw some bombs and maybe be in front of your midliners a little bit, but to focus the most on like baiting people into your team's range to let, you know, again, those midline and backline weapons clean things up for you. And what you can focus on in the meantime is just making sure that the map is painted so that those players can see when the frontliners approach, and throw a bunch of bombs and try and stay safe and wait for picks to really do too much, if anything. Oh, goodness. Okay. Here we go. So rolling out, checking map, this is all good. So we're seeing that the splash here has Ninja Squid, nobody else does. Nothing too much else there to really be that worried about. Some interesting choices. Yeah. All right. That's what people are running there. The splash at least has a pretty common meta build there. Hey, it's an X-Raid. Thank you for the raid, X-Ray. Appreciate you. X-Ray is one of our guest lecturers, so if you ever have any questions, you can talk to X-Ray in our stream. But let's get back to the VOD review. So yeah, this is a pretty decent positioning here, I would say. Because you definitely are a little bit worried about them pushing you, but right now you have a lot of paint control in mid. And one of the nice things about paint control is that it kind of acts like vision for you. If you push into this range that's all purple, there's not going to be an enemy player that's hiding in that, because it's, you know, it's all covered up. They can't be anywhere that you can't see them. And if someone starts painting into your purple zone, you'll see that as long as you're, you know, keeping your eyes open, and you'll be able to retreat in response to it. So right now you could probably be up about as far as the tower. And one of the things that I'm immediately looking at is that there's an enemy player who's dropped down to the right here that my teammate is currently focusing on. As a general rule, if your teammate starts fighting someone and you're near enough to help it, always try to help it in whatever way you can. And the junior's way of doing that typically is throwing a bomb at that fight. Although right now, without as much support with that enemy player, you know, if they stay isolated over here, you could just make the frontliner play and push. Let's get the scribbles out here. Yellow is probably a good color for this. You could push over to, let's back that up a second. You could push over to here and come around it to cut them off, so that they're right here, your teammate is right here, they don't have any way out, and now they're cornered, and you just kind of play it very patiently and wait for them to get stuck and go down. So that's an option that you have if you're not going to get aggression from the opposing team in this direction as you go that way. You could also drop down here, which will be safer, but now you're closer to your teammate, you're at a less aggressive angle to be able to stop this player, and they do actually have the escape option of coming back this way, the way that you would have come. So those are both options that you have available to you. Let's see what happens here. So you know that there's a player. Okay, there's actually 2 players, it looks like, over on this side. One of them is engaging you from the front, but remember there's another one engaging your teammate over here. They were throwing the burst bombs. So you might not have help from this teammate right away. And against these weapons, it's not necessarily a winning fight, although you do end up winning it. So good job there. That gets 2 down. There is still one right in front of the tower. And I do like the choice to just pop the bubbler on it right away and get the thing moving. So far, so good. Right now, you've got your teammate who's getting up on the tower here. And while normally I would say it is your job as the junior to probably be the tower rider, if they're just going to sit on this with you, might as well maybe try and get up and paint forward or throw a bomb or something like that, because both of you standing in the same place, covering the same zone, isn't doing as much for you as if you were covering different areas of the map. And you do end up getting off and going forward. Perfect. I really love those bombs. Throwing a bomb here and then a bomb here. Let's draw those. Bomb here and bomb here means that the opponent can't retreat because they're going to end up going through either ink that's been painted by the bomb or just explode. So you're completely cutting off their escape. They've got an opponent who's looking at them directly. They're just kind of stuck because of the support that you provide there. So this is a really good job that you're doing playing off the mini. I would probably want just the tiniest bit more information from what's going on in this direction, because we know that there's at least someone over here and there's orange ink down on the other side too, so I'd want to make sure that someone doesn't come out of my peripheral vision like this to get me. So I'd at least try and like take a quick glance over there, just make sure that there's nobody on that spot. Well played. That was a fight that the other player definitely could have won. It was poor accuracy on their part. Almost looks like they're stick aiming or something. So you capitalize on that and you get the pick. In theory, that player should have won the fight, but it's like you should already have been splatted. But they're aiming like you're over here and they're aiming over here, and I'm not really sure why that's the case. Even so, like, you get someone with a bomb over here, and this player, in order to attack you, has to dive, like, really deep into purple ink here. So even if you go down in this position, it's very likely that your teammates can just clean this up after you. Nice, and you come over here, throw the bubble down. Your range blaster is very set on just staying on tower. I like everything that you did there in terms of camera movement. So you paint all of this up. So that does a couple things for you. Number one, that gives you an escape route down to your back right. So if you need to, you can dip out in this direction if like this area becomes compromised. But another really cool thing that this does for you is if an opponent were to try and sneak over to here and drop down this way, they would land on enemy ink, and it would be a lot more visible and a lot more difficult for them to sneak up on anybody. So this really takes control of this entire right side in a pretty big way, and in a way that the rest of your team isn't really well equipped to do. So I think that's all very smart. And then the very next thing that you do when you get over here is you look back at the tower, make sure that it's fine, make sure that, because one of the risks here is that maybe you missed someone dropping down earlier, and they're kind of coming up from behind the tower as we speak. So making sure that, okay, is the tower still uncontested over here? Yeah, it looks like it is, and we have someone behind it, so if somebody does come through, then I'll know. So lots of good things happening there. This is exactly how you as a frontliner lock out the right side on Hammerhead so that the opponents are forced to trickle in from the same direction, either from here or here. And they're a lot more easy and obvious to deal with. All right. So here, this player drops down right here. They're already on ground level. And I think we missed that at first, or we react a little bit slowly to it. Let's see. Because
I was looking up. So it was kind of like I noticed a little late that there was like another person, and that's why it was a little slow to get the shot in.
Yeah, it's right here that I actually noticed they're coming. I see this flash right
Oh.
here. Going by. So that clues me in already that I want to be looking to that direction. We see them again on this side here. And so it's those two instances that tell me, okay, the player was back here, now they're here, I need to turn my attention over to where they're dropping instead of throwing this bomb. So that sounds like that's a case of I am collecting information that you missed because you were maybe looking someplace else. But again, that's a case where something the wrong color is happening in your peripheral vision. And even if it's only happening for... How many frames is this on screen? So it's here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About, like, 8 frames. So less than a sixth of a second. It's not a very long time that you have to spot that. But it is a flash of orange that's happening out here. And the more experienced you get, the more you train yourself to spot those things, and the more likely you are to catch this. And instead of throwing the bomb here, which is what ends up getting you splatted because it takes too long to both throw the bomb and then get your aim on, you're already like pre-firing that guy as soon as they land, and you get this pick immediately. You did get very close to splatting them, but it looks like your aim isn't really set right away. You're like, oh shoot, they're here, and there's a little bit of wave aiming going on. It's also just like you weren't expecting it to be there, so I'm not like hugely disappointed that you missed these shots or anything like that. You're in a 2v1. This is a fight that they should win, and you've already made a really huge push that your team can absolutely be proud of here. They've made it through 2 checkpoints in 1 push in the very first minute of the game. Like, even if they get wiped right here, this is still a winnable game. Now, on Hammerhead, it's maybe less okay to lose control of the tower because of how swingy this map can be, how much of a snowball you can get going in this particular map mode. With the stage being so narrow, and with you being able to send 1 Splattershot Junior and lock out the entire right-hand side of the map from the enemy team, you know, that's something that is a map design problem that makes it so that if you lose control of the tower, it is entirely possible that the enemy team just pushes all the way through to KO. So that's something on this particular map that you won't see on other maps that makes it a little bit more of an issue to lose the tower here, but still, in the general case, like, you losing the push here is not necessarily a bad thing. You know, not getting this fight isn't necessarily a bad thing. But those are things that, like, in future, you know, with a little bit more awareness and a little bit, you know, more steady aim, like, those are things that could have gone your way and pushed this even further than it's going to go here. But your team is 2 down now, 3 down, because the range blaster looks like they just stayed on tower to try and go for points. So now it's just your mini who is respawning. So we saw the blaster shot in mid here, and that's something to be worried about as we approach, and we just saw another one there. Since we already know that the blaster can hit, like, up to here, we want to be careful about, like, approaching the ledge here. If we overcommit to being, like, on the very edge here, the blaster can just 2-shot us before we can back up behind this line of what's safe. And that's exactly what happens there. The bomb... You've always got to remember that with a bomb, an opponent can track based on where that bomb came from, where you are. Like, any shots you fire, any aggression you put out is also information that you're giving the opponents on your location. So, with this bomb, what you want to be doing is throwing it and then backing up. Because if you throw it and you stay there, they just know where you are now. And with a blaster, they can hit up over the ledge and take that out. The way that you kind of deal with this blaster being there is you try and, like, make them move to set them up for your teammate. Because the mini has more range. And if the blaster is clearly looking at you instead of the mini, then maybe the mini can get some shots or throw a burst bomb or something. Like, Maybe they can paint the blaster's feet, and then the blaster turns to pay attention to them, and you can throw a bomb at it or something like that. But it's in a pretty powerful position, and with just the two of you there and the rest of their team close on their heels, you aren't necessarily going to be able to just hard commit and fight this guy back. Okay, so teammates take down 2. So this is a great spot for you guys. You've only lost first checkpoint, which means basically nothing. It is at like 80 or something that checkpoint goes down, so nothing to worry about too much. And you're starting to get control here. So yeah, that bomb is meant to clean that up. This bomb here isn't probably going to get you that much information or threaten that much. We can see that like this whole area, probably up around here and everything, is painted orange. So a bomb going like on this spot, the opponents are going to be able to kind of just skirt around that, avoid that. They're going to have all the paint at their feet that they need to not get splatted by it. There's nothing that's trapping them here. So what I would say is until you have the information that tells you an opponent would actually be threatened by this bomb if they were to do a certain thing, until you have that, I would save the ink and use your main weapon to paint and take back control that way first. Because this bomb is probably going to get you minimal value. It's going to paint the tiniest bit and not really displace anyone from where they want to be or threaten anyone with a splat. So instead, I'd focus on getting maybe this stuff cleaned up and starting to use the elevation to look up over this area. Maybe see up over here, like where are the opponents and where would it actually be useful to throw these bombs. Okay, so the bomb gets thrown. Did you miss the bomb? Or did you, like, not need to...
Yeah, no, this was just mechanical bad play. Because I was just going back to try to put the big bubbler on the tower. And then I think, like... I mean, I was playing for like 3 hours. I was a little tired, so I think I just kind of just overshot the tower and just kind of misplayed. Gotcha. But I saw the bomb. I knew when I fell down, I was like, I just like killed myself.
Gotcha. Because like you stop here and fire some shots, so from here you could totally just drop the big bubbler. You didn't have to like swim back off in this direction, because you can like get on, pop it, and then just move forward again. But we get the big bubbler up. Oh, it looks like... Do we get the bubbler? Oh, no, we don't get the big bubbler up.
No, yeah, I didn't get it off, yeah.
Was there anything more we could say about that? One other thing about that bomb, though, is that if you were inclined to make more of a frontline sort of play, you could kind of use where it was thrown from to throw a bomb in that direction and maybe relieve some pressure off of Mick Stud here. Because that's either a splatter shot or a... No, yeah, it's got to be the splatter shot that's throwing that. So the splatter shot won't be in range to hit the tower yet, but they will soon as the tower moves toward them. And so working to displace that player, making them feel like they're not safe just walking forward at the tower, those are both pretty good things to try and do. So what I do is just get on tower, immediately put the big bubbler up, and then from there, you know, maybe your teammate moves up and lets you ride the tower, or maybe you're the one who has to move forward. But it does look like that player moving forward ends up getting your teammate on the tower. So turning your attention to them might have helped your teammate a little bit more.
Okay.
But, yeah, I mean, if you stay on the tower, I'm sure that you spot that coming, and it doesn't surprise you as much as it did. I'd be really careful about throwing those bombs, because I guess we don't have the blaster here, but what we do have is there's this player right here, and otherwise, outside of their zone that they control, there is nothing stopping someone from just rushing you up this ramp. And so if they decide to just press their advantage and hold forward at you, they would see you from, swimming from up in this direction before you see them. And that would be concerning. So maybe like drop a bomb. I would say drop a bomb like right over the front of this ledge if you want to be this close, so that if someone is coming up, they're forced to back up down the ramp again, and you're able to see that coming. And there, I believe, is that exact thing happening. So somebody's right here, and you didn't know that they were there. And if you had been in the same position as your teammate, then this player would have just gotten to you right away. So.
Okay.
Oh, it ends up being a crab tank. Yeah, not much you can do in that spot once they know you're there. Seeing that they do have this kind of range, though, I still would, like, even if you're not recognizing that this is a crab tank, just seeing anything that shoots this far, if that turns, that's going to be aimed right at you. So from here, if there isn't anything more that you want to do, that you can do to stop it, like, throwing a bomb is fine, but then after throwing the bomb, back up. Don't just throw a bomb and then stay in the exact spot you threw a bomb from, because now you've given your position away, that you've given them time to advance on you, and you haven't done anything to discourage them from just splatting you at longer range. So, as a general rule, I think it should be more of a habit for you to throw a bomb and then retreat, instead of just throwing the bomb and standing still.
Yeah, I think I was just feeling the pressure in this specific match. That's why I probably stayed there, because, like, during this, I was sensing, like, they're getting, like, a good push, so I felt like I just had to do more.
Gotcha. As a general rule, if you are not in a position to have an advantage over the objective, be willing to give up lead and whatever else in order to take that fight at advantage instead of taking that fight at disadvantage. Taking the fight at disadvantage staggers your team, whereas taking the fight at advantage is pretty reliably going to stop the push as long as you are patient about it and don't go down before you're able to. You still have 2.5 minutes left in the game. That's still half of the game that is left to be played if this goes to time. And the only way that it doesn't go to time is if we're impatient and we stagger into this push. Because being on a stagger here, like if you go in and die right now and your team just stays at a 4v3 numbers disadvantage, the other team gets through that checkpoint and probably knocks out. So now this is a very dangerous place to be in, and you do not want to be too far forward. You do get a trade, which helps somewhat. That will mitigate some of the pushing power. And what happened to the enemy team? There was like nobody down there stopping the push. How'd they get off? Yeah, so everybody but you is down right now. Oh, but your teammate traded the tower as they went down, so there's actually no one backing up to take it. And so it's actually resetting back to mid right now. That's an error on their part for not recognizing that there was nobody on tower. That is something where, if you're the pushing player, you always want to have in the back of your head like an awareness of whether the tower is still moving. Because if it's not moving, then either you've let someone through and the tower is contested, or your tower rider has gone down or something and nobody's riding it. So they easily could have taken lead here if they had just been a little bit less aggressive. Like, they don't need to be pushing up and trading with the junior player who's just respawned. What will get them a more reliable win here is if they stay on the tower long enough to get lead at least before they start making a play like that. So they mess up a little bit, and that's going to let your team potentially get back into this before they get lead back. Maybe, maybe not, but it'll definitely be closer. They do pick someone off the tower, and I like that you're getting on the tower. In especially a situation where it is very important to stop the tower, and unfortunately that window has just passed, but in the situation where you might be able to stop it, one of the important things is to actually get someone physically standing on the tower. Because having any member of the opposing team on the tower while you're trying to push it will stop it in its tracks. It will not be making forward progress while that fight is decided. And so even if you go down right away, you are at least stalling them. You are at least making it take longer for them to KO, and potentially giving your team more of an opportunity to get back if they've lost the fight. So I agree with getting on tower here. Now, what you do want to do in this position with, you've already stood up here and fired shots. Oops. Oh, hello. That is not the tool that I was looking for. Let's try that again. So, why is it not pausing when I hit the spacebar? There we go. That was annoying. So, because you've stood up here and fired shots at the tower, and there is a player down here who has nothing else in the game to look at except for you, when you get up on tower, you want to expect that you're going to get pressure from this guy, because who else do they have to look at? Who is more important for this player than you? They're going to focus on you when you get over the top. And a concern of yours is that somebody from over here also focuses on you, and now you're pinched. So you want to be, first of all, denying them information about where you are as you go over the top. So once this player goes down, what I'm probably thinking to do is rotate to the left side of the tower, because the player over here hasn't come up yet, and maybe I could like pre-fire them as they come up. Maybe I could be hitting them while they're already on the way up. If they decide to stay down here and maybe like hide out there and wait to try and ambush you, then what you could do, especially if you start getting aggressed on from this direction, is drop down over the side and aim shots in this direction so that you surprise them. Because you have the initiative on them with that play. They don't know that that's coming, and they can't really see that it's coming until you're already in the air. So that would be a good opportunity for you. You'd for sure be in range of them to be able to get that pick. So that's a way that you could play this a little bit more safely. Because that player does end up taking you out. Whereas, if you spotted them, taken preemptive measures to deal with them, you might have been able to have the initiative in that fight instead of getting surprised.
How do you practice seeing like those like smaller, or if it's just something that you just gain over time, like because it's like earlier you pointed out, oh, like those 9 frames, there's a guy dropping down, and there, in that moment I didn't see the guy on my left. Obviously, that's why I went like pointing to the right. So how do you like develop that? Like, how do you practice that? Do you just make yourself like try to be really aware, or like how do you see those things?
So it's a little column A, a little column B. I'm not going to there aren't exactly drills that I'm going to be able to do to practice that. I guess
Right.
I could watch back over my gameplay later. VOD reviewing does actually help a lot with that sort of thing, because you can see what it was you missed. And maybe you can develop a pattern of things that you tended to miss. And then you can like try to correct for those patterns in game. But another thing is just... you make it a training goal for yourself. Like when you're practicing, you make it one of your goals, one of your things that you're thinking about, one of the questions that you're going into a game specifically to find an answer to is you can tell yourself, all right, whenever there is something that is the wrong color that moves on the peripheral of my screen, that is something I'm immediately paying attention to. That's something that, like, whatever it was that just happened, as soon as it's the wrong color and it's in the peripheral, I am immediately gathering information about what's going on there. Any little flicker, any little anything, like, train yourself to see very binary so that it's like, here is the purple, orange! And as soon as there's any orange, you want to know where that's coming from, why that's there, what, if anything, that is doing to threaten you. So that's one way to think about it, to kind of like unfocus your eyes a little bit maybe when you're looking back through it, and think like, where are the little flickers that tell me that there's danger nearby? But it is also something that comes with time. Like, the more experience you get, the more times you get flanked, the more you are in that situation where something snuck up on you, the more you'll start to think, wait, there was somebody there, I didn't look closely enough, and you'll look closer next time. So that's also something to think about. But just as a general rule with learning anything in this game, I always... I go back to something a band director taught me a long time ago, which was whenever you're practicing, have a question in mind. Have something you're focused on. Don't just practice to put in the hours to get your games in. Always have like a thing that you are trying to do better in that moment, because that will drive you forward much faster and also will prevent you from developing bad habits while you're doing it. Because a lot of people will, play pretty well for an hour and a half and then just start getting sloppy and tired and upset. And all of those things will compound to the point where they're not really practicing anything good here. They're actually developing habits that are going to hurt them and hinder their progress, if anything, at the same time that they're getting more, mechanically adept or whatever by just playing it a lot. Hours help, but productive hours help exponentially more. So it might even help in some cases to limit people's playing time so that you have the mental energy to be focused on something while you're playing. There was a Super Smash Bros. Player, going back to my experience in the Melee community, called Cyrox, who was known for running streams of maybe like 2 hours every day, which were all of the practice that he ever did. And usually an hour to an hour and a half of those streams would be spent VOD reviewing instead of playing. And that player got to top 100 in an alarmingly fast rate of speed. It was the thoughtfulness of their practice that made them better at the game, rather than just being a grinder and having 12,000 hours in the game. It's much better to have focused, intentional practice. And so if this is a common thread that we find is kind of underlying a lot of the mistakes that happen in this game, a lot of the times where a fight goes their way when it could have gone yours, then I would say that that's one of the goals to be thinking about after maybe each game. In the S Plus video, I talk about a spreadsheet that I made where I think it was the S Plus video, where I have my goals listed. Maybe like I wouldn't have more than like 5 to 7 of them. I have my goals listed, and after every single game, I would mark them off from 1 to 5. Like, how did I do on this? And I'm self-reflective about those things to keep my head focused on those things, so I don't forget that was what I was intending to practice. So maybe that's something that helps you, formalizing it like that. All right, I like that bomb. And we're coming here just to drop the big bubbler, and then we go. I like this. You're playing relatively defensively. You throw that bomb, but then you back up a little because you know you can't challenge this player at their own range. You want to wait and make sure that they drop, or that they drop back, or they move away or something. And that way you know that it's safe to move up over this ledge here before you go and do it. Nice, and you cross them up. That was really slick. And you delete them. Awesome, awesome. Very, very well played. It does look like they probably could have had their aim on a little bit before they do. They misjudge where you are by a little bit when you throw this bomb. But notice how... So the reason that worked... And this is something that we saw you not do earlier. So you throw this bomb here, and you're lined up, like, to the right. So to the right of this tower path, let's say. And then as soon as you throw the bomb, you immediately move to the left side of it. And so while this player could potentially have seen that and adjusted their aim, when they pop up... It seems like they're expecting you to be on the right-hand side, even though, actually, no, that's not... Okay, they're just not using all the available information, because you do actually throw a bomb from the left-hand side there and then walk to the right. But good reaction on your part to see that they were about to start shooting at you, to swim past them, and get them in the back like that. That is exactly how you play that, as soon as you recognize that they're missing. So you get them here. You see the bomb thrown there. You have two options here. One is you can back up like you do. The other is that you can paint up on this spot. And the aggressive play that I would actually consider is maybe thinking about going here for a couple reasons. Number one, you right side peek from here and they have to left side peek it, so it's not the safest thing for them to push. Two, the tower is coming up from behind you. And so this player is very soon going to be in range of this area right here. And so even if you are cornering yourself, they still have your back if this player decides to come around the corner here. And so you could probably win that back. And the last reason, and the one that made me think to maybe do this instead, is that if you back up behind the tower, now the tower is the furthest thing forward on the map. And as a general rule, the first player on the defending team that is going to be able to contest the tower is going to be able to stop the tower. The tower is at a disadvantage relative to a player who's just like out there in the open. They are up in a very predictable place, and they either stay up there, in which case the enemy team knows exactly where they are, or they see that player has left and stop the tower push. And either way, that goes in the defending player's favor. So if you instead, dodge that bomb by being like right here and then try to make a play out in this direction or like around the corner or something, that keeps you in front of the tower, and that makes it so that somebody who's trying to approach the tower to stop it has to deal with you first.
Okay.
In this case, I don't think it's going to end up mattering because the only player who's up is their blaster. So chances are you can just get right back in front of the tower and be fine. Although I would definitely be getting in front of the tower because notice how, because there are all these bombs getting thrown from directly in front, from like right here, the tower is now having trouble continuing to push forward. Whereas if you were in this position, very worst case scenario, they at least spend a little bit of time splatting you before they are able to engage on the tower. And that gets the tower probably close enough to be able to get to lead before these bombs force them off. I do like that you're kind of staggering the tower there. You're taking it slow. You're making sure that you're safe before you try and go for it. And oh my goodness, very, very close. So the wave breaker there is actually pretty important to jump over. The audio cue, that kind of sound, that's assigned to you. That wait, the wave breaker. This is a range blaster. Why does it look different on the screen than the other blaster does? Why is it like it goes from here to here, whereas this one goes from like here to here? Those seem different sized. Anyway, all of that aside, the wave breaker announces that it's going out, and the waves are visible right here. It's something that I've been training myself to do better, to spot these as they come forward and be ready to jump, because this is absolutely a moment that you do not want to be marked. And the extra damage also is going to hurt. So as soon as you get up on tower and you are marked, this is like, I am in danger. This is, the opponents literally have wall hacks on me. They can always see me. I need to always position in a place where I am not going to be in range of them. And there's a blaster right here. Whichever kind of blaster this is, that means that, like, normally you could, like, hide on this side and they shoot this side and miss you. But you're both marked. So now the blaster's going to know exactly where to put those shots. You need to just back off the tower, even though you're this close to lead. Is this absolutely can clear you off the tower before you get lead. Man, that is close. Another issue with what happens there, which is just kind of unfortunate, is that you get on the tower and then your teammate does too. And you both being on the tower means that that clash is able to do damage to both of you at the same time. Seeing you go for the tower, they probably should have backed off. Because you got up there first, and you're a player that is going to do better from the top of the tower, I think, than they will. So definitely a little bit of a miscue there. You don't want both of those players in the same place. You want one of them to be helping from an off angle so that they can protect the tower instead of just dying at the same time as the tower. And that's another reason why, as soon as they went up, I would be like, man, if you're staying up here, I'm getting off. So, like, even as that player was going down and you're recognizing, oh, I'm the only player left on the tower, I'm probably still dropping off the tower and trying to use the tower for cover, wait for the mark to go off me, try and play it safe and keep map position. Even if we don't get the lead on that push, if we make it so that we don't wipe and we still have maybe like a player here and a player here or something, that gets us back into mid and gives us a second chance faster than if we all go down. One thing that I'm thinking here is, yes, there is a player here, and there's the potential that someone could drop here. But right now, the right side of mid is not especially contested. And if you can get in there and paint this up a little bit and then start chucking bombs in either of these locations, that will keep the enemy team from using the right side for longer. And so that's something that I would probably be thinking to do instead of sitting back here behind everybody else on my team. Because right now, the tower is being contested from this exact location, which you could have gotten in front of and put up a zone to protect if you'd moved up to the right instead. Getting on tower now is pretty unsafe. So at this point, with a player right here, somebody here watching this angle, the enemy's zone is starting to encroach on where you are. They're starting to get control of about this much space. And that's primarily because this player here was allowed to push as far. Again, if you had been right here, you could have enforced that zone and made that a lot less safe for them to do. Maybe let your mini stand up here or stand around the other side and take control of that. So a little bit passive, and that lets them take some more map control than we probably needed to let them have. And now we're getting crossfired. Our entire team has backed up further behind us, and there's a whole lot of orange ink that's coming out into this direction. This is another reason that the test, is there orange ink where there shouldn't be, you know, in my peripheral vision, is really important, because it also tells you if your escape route is being taken up. You now do not have the ability to retreat in this direction. You also don't have the ability to retreat in this direction. You might be able to get away if you like drop back into here and use the pit or something and try and draw them away. My guess is that you probably don't have time to do that anymore. But in this position exactly, your best chance, I think, is to kind of drop over this ledge, drop over this ledge, drop over this ledge, but use this ledge for cover against this player, and try to back up and turn this into a 1v1, which is pointless for them to push, because they would be pushing sideways from the tower instead of in front of the tower, and giving your team more time to move back in. Getting up on tower, this is a situation where you're very likely to go down. You had a teammate over here, and they just went down, so you know that there's somebody watching from here. That somebody is going to immediately turn to watching you now that you're on the tower, and that they have that information about you. So your best shot right now to survive is probably to jump over to your platform over here. Or, okay, you could pop that. That might actually change things. Yeah, the big bubbler was actually a huge game changer there, and it helped a lot that you were able to pop the bomb off the front of the crab tank to get this guy. So now all of a sudden your team has an advantage because you were able to use your special smartly. I didn't even think of that as a possibility.
I noticed like a lot of like scenarios, because it's like a minute left, right? Like, especially with what you said earlier, like I could have played more to the right side, but now I'm getting pressured there because I didn't. I guess like, you know, I was just in the heat of the moment. It's just like, I just see the purple in front of me. We got a minute left. We just got wiped out. We almost like got back the lead. I think like mentally, I just thought like I probably feel like I can go for something like crazy, but I guess like I'm just like because it's like I guess like I would want like some advice or tips on like how I can like manage like those like moments because like I know I can like think of something more level headed even with this little time, but it's like someone's like spamming me. They're saying they want to jump on me, and it's like, okay, like I'm in this situation. I just feel like I have to go do it, even though it's not like smart. So I guess like I do you have like any tips on like how I can juggle? Like, is it just like maybe it's just like something where I have to just gain the experience for, but it's like in the heat of the moment, it's kind of like snap decisions, and I just want to make sure I can try to bank the best one most of the times.
The best advice that I can give about decision making is not to think about lead, not to think about who's going to win the game, not to think about results too much.
Okay.
Obviously, there are things that you need to know about the game in order to play the win condition correctly. For example, right now, if there were to be 5 seconds left on the timer, you need to get on the tower. That is the only way that you possibly can get a win out of the game. So there is a limit to that, but right now, since you still have a little bit of time, the goal here is play to your team's advantage states. You need to get your team an advantage and then use that advantage to be able to push the tower. And right now, without an advantage, pushing the tower is doomed to fail anyway, and making a failed push where you still have a minute left that you could have worked with and been a little bit more patient, spent maybe 5 more seconds, and actually had a good push, that's when that's when you can kind of play to your advantages and make a good push instead of just getting wiped and stagger. So all of my decision making is based on like, will my team win this? Will I win this? And until it's the very end of the game and you have to make a desperation play, I do not put myself into situations that I'm not confident are winnable.
Okay.
So yeah, great bomb off the crab tank. Well played there. You get 3 shots on that player, and then they hit a direct, unfortunately. In this situation, yes, there's a bomb there, but dropping off the tower doesn't put you at any kind of advantage against your opponent here. Maybe if you drop off the tower in a way that gives you cover from them, like you drop way closer to the tower, but instead of moving backwards here, why not move sideways? You've got some time before this bomb explodes to put at least a few shots. What I would have done is just walked left and fired this way to get around the pole. And then they're expecting you to be here, they'll shoot here, then you'll hit them from this side. Or maybe they'll even try to shoot in this direction but miss. But if you knew that this was a blaster and maybe you didn't recognize, there is a suction bomb there, and that's the clue. The fact that the suction bomb plus your splatter shot here is down, so that's the way you can know that this is the blaster. But even if you didn't know that, the blasters thing is, if you're up close to them, they have to hit a direct in order to do any damage to you. They cannot hit indirects at close range. The indirect range is at the far end of their radius. So you being right on top of them as a junior isn't a bad thing. Even so, if you're not recognizing that, moving this way some indeterminate amount and taking the initiative to do that and forcing them to react to you when you know where they are, that gives you initiative. And you only have to hit like 1 more shot right now because of the shots you just put down there. So you can be pretty confident moving into this. Like, you can fire 2 shots probably before this blaster gets another shot off. Only one of those shots needs to hit. This is a pretty high percentile fight. I would just go for the finish. And if you can't get it, then yeah, drop behind the pole before the bomb goes off. But when you drop off like this still doesn't give you cover from anything. Because you're far enough away from the tower at this point that the angle that they have is pretty significant. And also remember that they can hit down through this grating. Like, this grating does not stop shots. So the actual edge of the tower is really like right here. So that angle right there, that's something where they can see you, especially as a blaster. But even as a short-range shooter, because they're going to stand up to here, and then that's the angle that they need to hit to be able to hit you. It's a pretty easy one for them. So if you're going to use the tower, you want to be like right up next to the tower to make it awkward, to make it so they have to walk all the way to the edge to look down and see you. And then maybe you want to be able to like skirt around in this direction, go this way or this way around the tower to get different angles of cover. Because once you're back here, there's no cover whatsoever. You have to move much further away in either direction to get to any cover. And even backing up won't help you because there's no cover there either. As a short-ranged weapon, and being especially the shortest ranged weapon in this game, you want to always play around cover because cover lets you get closer to your opponents than you normally can safely. It doesn't let them use their range advantage against you. All right, so that's 3 down. It's a good look for your team. Like, you know, I took all that time, you know, talking about how you could have won that fight. You did, remember, still get a 2-for-0 win when you grabbed the tower earlier. So your team is still going to be able to use that advantage regardless of the fact that, you might have gone down. And now we're in a really good position. You're on the tower here. There's been a trade up front. We've got a hammer trying to move forward. I like the bombs. I like that, because one of the risks is that the hammer goes up here, but then that gives someone the ability to just sneak by this way, or if the hammer misses them, they can just run straight at the tower and ignore the hammer. So keeping bombs out here to make sure nobody does that right away, and also to paint this up is a solid strat, because you can't reach that with your main weapon yet, so painting it with the bombs is the best that you've got, but it also applies that kill threat around that radius around the bomb. So good ideas there. And yeah, we want to be furiously painting for the big bubbler here, because that probably guarantees us the lead. Excellent. This is actually one of the situations where I would consider putting multiple people on tower, because there's no immediate threat to the tower for one thing. You've also got the big bubbler around you, so that's protecting you for now. And this will get you through the checkpoint slightly faster if you both stay on top of it. Ooh, you almost didn't make it through the checkpoint. And like I said, having 2 people on it might have actually got you there. At this point, I mean, you could push up like this. You could try and get a trade back or something. But right now, nobody has line of sight on you. I'd just super jump back to spawn. I'd just get out of there and preserve your life. Preserve the little special charge that you've got left. You'll be back on the map sooner. You'll have more of an impact. From here, there's so much orange ink between you and the rest of your team that I think retreating back to your side of the map is pretty unrealistic. So your options here are either go for a trade or jump back to spawn. And you are a junior, and you are going to have to push into the range of a weapon that outranges you to do that. So it seems like an unlikely thing to be able to get from this position. I would probably just jump out.
Yeah, I just always feel like, especially at time going down, that I could, do something. So I'm still trying to develop the habit of, jumping out of situations like that. Especially, I guess, it just fogs your memory or your decision-making once the game's about to end, so. Yeah,
for sure. Something to think about is that you've earned yourself the right to be patient by getting the lead there. A desperation, end of gameplay, that's something that you make when you're behind, but you're not behind anymore. In fact, you're an entire checkpoint ahead. So from here, you can be like, yes, I get to play lame now. Because you've earned yourself that much of a lead. They have to go all the way from, here, where it started, to here, and through it, and to, here, on the tower. That's, a team wipe and a half that they have to get in order to make all of that progress up. So you don't have to give them, a stagger that leads to that team wipe. You can just let yourself survive. And if you had jumped back, you'd probably be about to here, right up there with the rest of your team, all grouped up and ready to go in mid before the tower even gets there. All right. So we know now from right about here, we're seeing this is a blaster shot and this is the blaster. I believe it's the Clash. And so they're standing and shooting right here, and I think moving this way. This would be someone you could throw a bomb at, because this is one of the frontliners who's going to start moving around to try and get up this ramp. So bomb at them would slow them down from being able to do that. Remember that the enemy team has to stand on the tower at this point, otherwise, they lose the game. So if you can slow down their front line so that their front line can't get in front of the tower is going to keep pushing, and it can often end up getting in front of the frontliners undefended. So, like, if this frontliner is able to get up here and establish this zone of control from here, now they're able to force you back from the tower path. But if you are just like, bomb, 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 no, you can't have this spot, then the tower is going to push through that spot before the frontliner is able to, and it's going to be less defended. So that's one idea that you can have for how to play this defense. Ooh. Okay, so teammate goes down. So 1-for-2 trade here. Yeah, and that's basically the impact that can have. There was one frontliner who did manage to get all the way up, and your teammate, while they did just go down for free, they were forcing the enemy team to focus on this side while the tower was already pushing past them. So this is a risky play here, because you do need to win this 1v1 in order to save the game at this point, once you commit to it. But when you go and take this angle on the tower, the enemy frontliners are like back here still. So as long as you can get rid of the tower rider soon enough, these players can't get involved yet, because their zone of control only extends about this far around them, and you're outside of that range. So this is risky, but if you trust yourself to be able to take that fight against the splatter shot, or no, the Splash-O-Matic is who that is, then that works. I'm not sure I would personally trust myself to take that fight against the Splash-O-Matic, because it has, I believe, slightly more range, but definitely more accurate shots. So it's more likely to be able to splat me if I just take an open 1v1 like this. But you end up definitely hitting your shots. You read as they move over to the right-hand side and shoot there too. Take them down, and at this point it's game over, because you can just hop on the tower and win.
Yeah, I guess the end of the game, everyone wants to be the hero, so I just need the game to be over, so I guess that's just why I took that fight.
Yeah. You do actually, as scary as that situation looks, where you're, down one and they're all the way to here, you actually probably do have some time to back up, maybe in this direction, as long as these players don't, shoot at you while you're doing that. And still be in the way of the tower and let your teammates jump in before it's going to be able to clear the checkpoint. As crazy and scary as this position looks, this is still not enough of a stagger that you can't regroup and fight this with more members. You can also just try to skirmish and see if your mini can pick someone off as they try and run in front of the tower, because again, the tower, there's a couple players over here still that need to get in front of the tower. And they're going to need to get in front of the tower fast. So if one of them gets up over this ramp faster than the others, then maybe you and the mini can tag team that player and get them down before the rest show up. Or maybe if you move over to this direction, you can cut off this angle so that they have to come up around the right-hand side instead of just jumping across like they could have. So those are some ideas for how this could have been played a little safer. But all's well that ends well. You got the win there, and you were able to secure another win on your ticket there. So yeah, that's looking pretty standard there. It's a very wide mix of KDs. Their splatter shot was only 6 and 14. Your mini was 20 and 7, so wide range of probably skill levels in this lobby. But you guys ended up pulling it off. You made some good objective plays there and made some clutch 1v1s to be able to secure the tower and get that lead that you needed. So, good job.
I have like a couple questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So there's just like I guess like they're just like a bunch of different things, but it's I guess my first question is like, sometimes I have the mini map up, when I'm like dead or just trying to look at the map. Because obviously, there's obvious things that I can look for, like how much do we have cover, how much do they have cover. But I don't really know how I should prioritize information when I look at the map. So like should I look for is like seeing how the map is laid out and covered more important, or should I try to seek out like where enemies are spotted on the mini map? Like how do I like get the most out of the information that I'm trying to get from it?
It's a very common thing when people first start trying to use the minimap tactically that they spend too long on it and end up putting themselves at disadvantage because they're not collecting information from in front of them. It is really difficult to balance when you start trying to do that because at first you don't know exactly what to be looking for on the minimap, and as such, you spend too long on it, you lose information by using it. So the trick is, first of all, to flick the map open and shut and collect the information you're looking for over a period of like 2 or 3 cycles of that. So maybe you get some of the information on one opening and then you open it up and look out in front of you to look for your peripheral vision, ink going down in bad places. And then you flick it open and shut again. And so that's the first thing, that you want to be developing that even early on so that you're not denying yourself too much information. Second thing, it's the same sort of deal as I was talking about where you kind of unfocus your eyes and see in a very binary, their color, our color. Because when you do that, a couple of things happen. Number one, you immediately get a very broad sense of where ink is on the map and like what your team controls and everything. Number two, as soon as any enemy ink goes down, it becomes a lot more visible that it's going down because you're just looking one color, another color, and when those two colors swap, that's a lot more significant in your head. So usually that's what I'm doing when I'm checking the map. I'm just, what's theirs, what's ours? Okay. What's theirs, what's ours? Okay. What's theirs, what's ours? I've got a full idea of the map now. If there are a few exceptions, like at the very beginning of the game, what I might be looking for is the trail that someone made as they're coming out of spawn. That's something that like will let me know where opponents are likely to come out from, and I might be able to even shark them because of that. But a similar thing can happen if like there's an opponent flanking. Like if you see like a brush trail that is currently moving through your base, if you're like, wait, there's some of their color in the big blob of our color and it's moving. Oh shoot, turn around. So that's something that can happen. Another thing is sometimes I might be about to move into an area and not be able to see that area very well at all, and I want to check to see what color it is. And so if I flip the map open and I'm like, ooh, that's all orange right now, I'm not liking that. I might avoid that or try to paint it first. Whereas if it's all blue, I'm like, oh, I don't need to worry about this. Let's just move through it right away.
Okay. Because then I guess my other question is, because I've been like gathering a lot of information, watching like, your YouTube channel, like Chara, dudes, I'm just like gathering all this info and like, the main thing I, obviously hear about the juniors, like, oh, well, that's a junior, so like you play supportive and you play with your people, or, you play with your teammates, right? And, I guess I just want a little more like detail on what, because then I just hear it as like you support those people, and then it becomes a little like it's not like completely obvious what that means. Like is it like supporting in the sense of like, just paint for them so they can move around more, like using my bubbler to like block for them? Is it just like is supporting just like throwing bombs so they can have more clear paths? Because I used to play a lot of League and like, oh, that's a support, right? Like, oh, yeah. Okay, it's very obvious to me, like what they do. But in this game, it's like kind of a concept that's like, hard to like grasp because it's like I feel like everyone does everything. So
That is a phenomenal question that hits at the root of a lot of problems of analysis in this game. You're absolutely right that there isn't a character like Sona from League of Legends who doesn't do jack unless she is next to somebody else. Like there are no healers. There's no mercy that like flies in behind one of your units to heal them. There's no like medic from TF2 that's going to uber charge you. There isn't even ink armor anymore, which is the closest that you could come to that, and that got taken out after Splatoon 2. So you're right in that your role is definitely a lot more similar to everybody else's role in this game than it is in another game where you might call something a support. There are no unique capabilities that you have that somebody else doesn't have. It's more that you have things that you do better than them, and so you do those things instead of what they do, and vice versa. But you can always like rotate between those roles. Like there are always times, in a match as junior that you could take an aggressive stance and move forward and try to take a one-on-one fight. And sometimes, like you found out in this game, that's actually the correct thing to do. So when people say to play supportive, it tends to mean a few things. One of those things is that you preserve your life more than most players do. You try to play about as safe as an anchor does, because your paint output on the map is helping even if you're not helping in fights. So it's not like you're one of the foot soldiers, the 52s, the splatter shots, where if you're not getting picks, you're not helping, and therefore you got to go and get those picks. It's more like even your just very existence on the map is putting down more paint for your team, and that's still valuable. Another thing that you want to do is preserve your special. Make sure that you have that so that when it's time to push the objective, you're always going to have it up, and you're always going to be able to give your team those extra, 25 points. After that, though, you can absolutely be thinking about combat. But the way that I would be thinking about combat here, and the way that I would direct you to try and play as your default mode on the junior, is find a fight that's happening on the map, throw a bomb at it, and then paint with your main weapon. Then get some more ink, and lather, rinse, repeat, or respond based on whatever it is that you see. There's a lot of talk about this in the How to Get Top 500 video when they talk about the Splattershot Junior player there. And granted, a lot of the point of it in that situation is to get armor output, which is a little bit... Bubbler output is definitely useful, but it's not so important to spam. It's not as spammable a special. There are only certain times that you want to use that, namely when you have control of the tower. So more than anything, what you're going to be doing is, like, if you're in range to join the fight with your main weapon, then you can absolutely go and do that. That probably means someone snuck up on you in the first place. But if you're not in range to help with the fight immediately, what you can do is throw a bomb at that fight, because that immediately helps your teammate. But then, for example, we talked very early on in that very first engagement. There are sometimes some aggressive routes you can take to help out in those fights. So here, I think it was, we knew that there was someone on the right-hand side. Teammate was already looking at the right-hand side. If we get into a position where we are behind enough cover that we as a short-ranged weapon can close distance with anyone who can hit us, that's a time that you can actually play aggressively. And so this might help you, help your teammate win this fight on the right if you want to go a little bit more aggressive, if you want to play that Battle Junior play style.
Okay. Okay, I guess I just have one last question. It's kind of gear related, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Because my setup with this is 2 main subs of a special saver, or so I can double bomb, and then the last ditch effort.
Special saver? You mean ink saver sub?
But yeah. My bad. That one. I have 2 subs of that, and then last ditch effort. But I feel like it's a little redundant because not that I plan on letting the opponent score like 50 to 75 points on me, but I feel like eventually, as the game goes on, like the less the Jeffrey will just give me the subs to let me double bomb. So I'm just thinking like, should I think about like just having just one sub of the sub saver, and then like I don't know, having like a main sub of something that can be a lot more useful in some scenarios, like special saver or like ink recovery.
So special saver is something you usually only see like one sub of because it gives you a pretty disproportionate benefit for just that one sub.
Okay.
But if you're trying to prioritize special output, you're looking more for special charge, and that's for a couple of reasons. For one thing, the junior, like I said, is going to play safe until it has something to commit to. It's going to play safe until it has its bubbler out, until there's something that it knows it can definitely go and do. So since you're expecting to probably die less, you're probably looking more towards special charge, because this only helps you if you die. The more you die, the more useful special saver gets. But you're not planning on doing that, hopefully. So special charge is probably more what you're looking for. If you're going to go for double bomb, what people are generally going to do is run a main of LDE. And you can see everybody, almost everybody is running LDE. There's been one player so far that has not run LDE. We're down to load more. There is only one build that does not have LDE. And I think that's for very good reason. The ink efficiency helps a lot with this particular weapon, and the ink efficiency is busted on almost every weapon, so might as well run it. But what I would do is probably run a main of Ink Saver Sub and a main of LDE if you're looking for that double bomb utility. And then otherwise to be prioritizing Special Charge. It's probably a good idea, especially if you're planning to play a little bit more aggressive, to maybe run some Stealth Jump. But then you can see that there's a mix of different ideas here. Some people are running sub power up to be able to throw their bombs further, which definitely it increases your range, so that's something to consider. Some of them are running ink recovery up so that you can make that play where you throw a bomb and then start painting more faster. That's an idea. There's some swim speed going out there so that you can move around in engagements better. So Sendu's even running Ninja Squid, maybe playing a little bit more on the aggressive side or playing to be able to move around in the sight line of E-leaders. So there are a lot of different ideas that you can pull from here, and it depends more on, I think, how you want to play the weapon than it does on like what's most optimal. Because how you play the weapon is going to determine which of these things actually kick in. If you're playing a battle junior, if you're trying to get up there and be aggressive when you can, which is less than most other weapons, to be fair, but it is something you can do, then maybe you prioritize stuff like the swim speed, and like, I'm thinking probably actually the special charge would be a good thing for that, so that you can get your big bubbler out faster so you can move up with it faster. Maybe that's an idea. But the swim speed's definitely important. Definitely some quick super jump, maybe some bomb defense, some ink resistance. The utility subs are always going to be good on pretty much everything, but you want to kind of think about it that way. Like, do you even want the Ninja Squid, maybe? Hopefully that helps. For those of you who don't know about this website, this is sendu.inc/builds. This is the resource that I will direct anybody to who asks me for a build for anything other than like the splatter shot, and maybe even then I'll probably pull this up to see what other people are running anyway. Yeah,
no, that's pretty helpful. It's just I play a certain way, but then like I just got to like S+10 today, so it's like now like my opponents will probably be better, and like they're gonna think of things I didn't think of, or things that I've been doing won't work. So I'm just like trying to like think about like, oh, okay, like is double bombing even worth it? Like maybe it's more important to like move faster, have my special sooner, because it's like people are just gonna be better as I keep playing. So it's like, okay, might have to change up like how I think about it.
In that top 500 video, Chara and some others, Hamram included. Hamram was a junior one trick at a high div 1, low div X level. So arguably, at the time, he had more experience on the junior than even Chara did. Albeit, I don't know. It was debatable whether like that was at absolute top level, which was what Chara was at. Anyway, they got into an interesting discussion about whether Double Bomb Junior is useful at all. Hamram's stance is that it absolutely is not. Chara's stance is that if you're going to get it from LDE instead of from 2 mains of Inksaver Sub. Like, and the reason that they're both saying that is that the junior does a lot more for the team if it throws a bomb and then paints than if it throws 2 bombs and then it has to wait to do anything at all. It's also a lot less safe for it to throw double bomb because if it runs that far out of ink and can't paint for itself when it gets rushed after throwing those bombs, now it's in a lot of trouble. So being the strength of the junior having that big ink tank is that you can throw a bomb and still have enough ink left in the tank that you can still do whatever the heck you want to do. And whatever the heck you want to do usually doesn't involve throwing a second bomb because if it's a well-placed first bomb, the second bomb isn't going to do that much that the first bomb didn't.
Okay. I never thought of it like that. Okay. Because then I think those are my questions. That's all I had.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for reserving the VOD review on Metafy and for letting us stream it. I hope that everyone here was able to find that educational about the weapon. I'm probably gonna stick around on stream for a little while longer, maybe do a little bit of Q&A here. But I'm gonna switch back over to my perspective and get going on that. So thank you very much, and you have a good day.
All right, thank you. Thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty. Oh boy. The bots are coming back. Looks like we're gonna have to find some new terms to ban so that they're not able to keep doing that. So apologies, folks, for y'all having to see that gross stuff. We will ban it as soon as we do see it. There we go. Cool. And there. I'm gonna go get a drink of water and then I'll be right back. Man, my chair, it has too many names now. We've decided, I suggested Herman, somebody else came up with Prochera, and now somebody decided to call it Charles. I don't remember why that even was. Was it like because Charles? I don't know. That's a little bit of a stretch. Okay. Are there any pure Slayer or Skirmisher weapons? Seems to me every weapon that does one also does the other, depending on the context. There are definitely weapons that are much, much better at one over the other. And so in that regard, I would, say this is definitely a weapon that I would consider a Slayer weapon and not a Skirmisher weapon. Because one of those things, you want defensive utility, and one of those things is you want aggressive utility. So the splatter shot is much more of a Slayer weapon, in that It's very short range. It's straight line of sight, but it gets on top of someone and they go down very quickly. And it can do that to multiple opponents if it gets on top of multiple opponents. The thing is, it can't disengage very well. As soon as it's in, it's in. And it's either going to win that fight or it's going to lose it, rather than being able to postpone that fight and get away. A Dually Squelchers, on the other hand, is a weapon that splats pretty slowly, but has very long range and very, very high mobility, even while it's shooting. So it's able to actually back up and stay out of range of people while still returning fire in a way that makes it much more suited to skirmishing. So while it doesn't get the splat very quickly, like the splatter shot does, which would make the splatter shot a better slayer, it is able to get away from stuff, making it a better skirmisher. Now, again, you're not going to play just one of those roles in any one given game. So while, yes, the splatter shot is a slayer and the Dually Squelchers is a skirmisher, if we're assigning one of those 4 roles to the weapon, remember that that is not a thing that we really want to do. We want to look at every weapon as, this is this good at slaying, this good at skirmishing, this good at anchoring, and this good at supporting, and we want to play it according to those strengths and according to what our team needs at this moment. So calling it a pure slayer is, you know, even on the splatter shot, because the splatter shot can zip and zoop. It can move around if it needs to. It can kind of do this sort of thing and, you know, get behind cover and try and just waste time. You know, any weapon can do that. Just, it's not a weapon that is expressly good at doing that and should be looking for positions to do that from whenever possible. And it also doesn't have the range to harass someone to be able to do that and make it useful to the rest of the team as well. So hopefully that answers that question. You think learning a variety of weapon classes is helpful with respect to improving your overall game, or is it more beneficial to focus on one class? You want to have some familiarity with everything, but you want to definitely focus and main one thing. Like, I play short-range Slayer weapons. And I'll play Anchor, and I'll play Support, and I'll play midline weapons to go and learn how those things work and learn their ranges and stuff and figure out what their weaknesses are by seeing what other people exploit about them. But I'm not going to spend so much time on that that it takes away from the thing I'm actually going to play in tournament. Tips for arrow spray. The snarky part of me wants to say play Junior instead. Arrow spray is one of the weakest weapons in the game. It has a kit that's massively mismatched for it, and I don't really know what you would want to use it for. It's a support weapon that doesn't have a special that's worth farming for, and so all it's really giving your team is paint and the inconsistent possibility of maybe getting a pick with the Reef Slider, but also the Reef Slider puts it in a lot of danger when it tries to use it. So I don't know what that thing's for, frankly. Do the Squelchers do frontline? They're a midline weapon, and that's just a straight up range distinction. Like, frontline is a weapon that is short range and that therefore has to get very close to your opponents. Dually Squelchers have significantly longer range than something like a splatter shot. They're like up there with like the 96, with the Nautilus, with the Bamboo. They're honestly pretty close to being long range enough to be an anchor weapon. Not quite there, but they're getting there. Any Squeezer content creators? I don't know of anybody who's playing Squeezer off the top of my head. I know they're out there. Kalana, who is one of the guest lecturers in our Discord server, was a Squeezer main, a foil Squeezer main in Splatoon 2. And so I'm sure they would have some tips for you if you had any questions there. Even if they don't play it anymore. Main support, anchor, midline, backline, weapon. I mean, okay, that's a very big category of people. I mean, if you're looking for, like, Hydra, Devi plays Hydra. But, like, we're looking for top-level backline players. We're talking Ice, we're talking .q, talking Brian from Europe. And there are a bunch of Japanese players. I think Chocopero played a lot of Charger. There's Pion, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. There are a bunch of old, like, Japanese Jet Squelcher players that are probably playing something else now. Dude plays Squeezer? Oh, okay. Last I saw Dude, he was playing 52, so I wasn't sure. So Hydra, I struggle with E-leaders. Any advice on how to deal with it? It is a disadvantageous matchup. It's like not something you should expect to win necessarily. Man, why is this rotation so bad? I'm playing open. Basically, you got to play around when they've fired their shot, because the E-leader takes a long time to charge up. Once you know that they have fired their shot, you know you have like 2 seconds or something before they can fire another one. And it's during that time you want to act if you need to act in their sight line. But what you should also consider doing is playing, instead of playing opposite to them, so you are contesting their sight line, you play parallel to them so that they don't ever get vision of you. And you can play against their team, because the Hydra, one thing it does have over the E-leader is DPS. If you give a Hydra like line of sight on the entire enemy team, it can splat the entire enemy team. If you give the E-leader line of sight on the enemy team, it can splat like one member of the enemy team and then have to back up and wait a few seconds before it can do anything else again. So if you as the Hydra are able to just completely avoid line of sight of the E-leader, in theory you could actually turn that into an advantage by just playing against the other 3 members that you do have an advantage against. So that's kind of what you're hoping to be able to do. Also, yeah, you have Booyah Bomb and Auto Bombs that you can just be chucking at the enemy backliner. Okay, so we've got a ton of Frontline in this match. So let's try to immediately push us over there. Let's just make sure we have our escape routes before we go do anything. We can afford to play a little bit slow here. Well, I couldn't get close enough to help the teammate with that fight. Where did my teammate go? What happened there? Oh, hi. Well, I mean, we get that one for free, I guess. Nice! Teammate cleaned that up, so we have a slight advantage. Should be able to start pushing into mid. Get some of this control back if we use a special here. Nobody's noticing the junior until now. What I'm doing there is I'm pre-firing the wall. Right now, okay, I'm just distracting the rest of the team, because I have teammates who are scoring right now. I thought I hit that. I had teammates who were scoring, and me getting the attention of 3 members lets my team score more during that time. But anyway, I'm trying to pre-fire the junior's shield so that I am stopping it if it tries to push out, and it doesn't have the range to hit me while it's still in. Ooh, that was almost bad. That is bad. That should have led to me being splatted, but it did not. Nice. Ooh, great hammer. Let's jump to them after they've moved a little bit away from the basket, because the enemy team is going to have to stay pretty close to the basket, so I'm going to be safer the further away I am from it. Yeah, this is probably dead. Yeah. If my teammate had stayed alive a little bit longer and kept the sloshing machine's attention for even one more slosh, I get in range in time to be able to splat them. But because they went down as quickly as they did, I didn't get enough time to push in, so I just go down there. They're not getting their aim on very quickly on the Tetras here. Like, a lot of the time, it looks like they're aiming after they roll instead of during while they're rolling. So not taking advantage of that really big positive of that weapon. I had a hunch that might hit someone, but it did not. A good read on that player's movement. What are they trying to do? Ow. I got too close. He was a junior. I could have kited them, but instead I tried to just run straight into them. And that put me in range, so as soon as I missed my shots, it was over. It's still a winnable fight. Like, I have a better time to kill, but I definitely need to hit my shots faster than I did. Oh my god, this is bad. I got him anyway. They didn't fire back at me. What's this way? What are we looking at? Okay. They're just making clams. I'm probably dead if I stay here. Oh man, that is such a dead jump. I cannot help that. Can't stop this. I guess they just gave up on me? I was still very much a factor in that fight. That's 2 for 1. Uh-oh. Gonna put some pressure on from this side. Even though I'm not planning on pushing here, I'm just applying a little bit of forward pressure to try and prevent them from being able to safely move at me. Unfortunately, I just stood on a fizzy bomb while I had the Trizuka out, so... 1 for 1 trade. I did get one with the Trizuka. That's still fine. Not a huge deal. Okay, my teammate is in there alone. They did get one. Let's see if I can protect them. That's 1 down. Now this player needs to back up. And they only have so much time to work with. So backing up is already a win. Teammate went down over there, so we're likely to see pressure from the left. We could have shredded that. I was expecting the Slosher to start shooting at it earlier, but maybe they were worried about someone in front of it. Ended up working out. Queen Ziria, kiting means you fire at them and back up at the same time. And the reason that that is a good idea is if you have longer range than them. Because what's happening is if they're out of your range or out of range to hit you, but you're still in range to hit them, backing up while shooting means that if they want to hit you, if they want to get close enough to you, they have to approach you. They have to keep running at you. So you backing up while they run at you keeps them in that position where they can't hit you and you can hit them for longer. So it would be like... Here. Ooh, okay, that was a little laggy. So like if this player is coming at me and they have shorter range than me, I'm doing this. So that they still can't get in range of me. Because if I just stand here and shoot at them, now they're in range of me. And there are some weapons that are better at this than others. A Dynamo, for example, they can do this, but then they have to, like, back up and swim again or something. So they're not fantastic at this. Whereas a Dually Squelchers, which is on the extreme other end, not only do they have really, really long range, so they can kite from further back than most weapons, but they can dodge roll backwards, do jump tech, and do this sort of thing, and be firing the entire time they're out there. One of the advantages of jump tech is that not only are you still firing at them and moving while you're jumping, you actually do have perfect dodge roll accuracy, even in midair for a while. You can see I'm still at single reticle, if I do this right. I'm still at single reticle, even while I'm off the ground. So, that's something that this weapon is just alarmingly good at. How do you handle E-leaders with Squiffers and Bamboozlers? You do not contest them. You take sight lines they cannot see, or You use cover to get close enough to them that you can see them, but even then, you don't challenge them while they have charge, you challenge them in between the charge. The E-liter is a very extreme weapon. If you put people on a map with no cover, and just massive open sight lines on flat ground, the E-liter wins the 1v1 every single time, because you just can't get close enough to it before it has lethal damage ready to go. The way that you beat it is cover. The way that you beat it is having a sight line that you can break and still hit it from, or you break its sight line for long enough to make it miss a shot and then come after it. Isn't jumping more predictable? Not on the dually squelchers, because you can roll out of the jump. If I have to jump and return all the way to the ground, yeah, that's not great. But if I'm jumping and doing this and then dodge rolling in a different direction mid-jump, that's a lot harder to hit. Even just jumping like this is more difficult to hit than standing still. So even though, you know, it might be a little predictable, it's still better, all other aspects accounted for. Most weapons do have increased aim RNG when you jump, and so that's a reason not to do it. But with this weapon, your fastest movement does not shoot, dodge, aim, you know, with swimming like this. At least your best combat movement. You're going to be doing this the whole way back. And maybe if there is something that's longer range than you, and you're like, oh shoot, I can't contest that, then you just swim away. But with most weapons, any weapon that's going to be like approaching you on the front lines, this is usually the right play if you execute it right, unlike what I did. And you can do that for a pretty long time before you run out of ink. So. That's a weapon-specific thing. Stamp being buff. I want to become a Splatana Wiper main. Any tips for success? The Splatana Wiper is, I think, a relatively weak main weapon right now. I don't even want to say relatively. I think it is pretty bad in terms of competitive play. So here are my thoughts on it. I'll give them to you in full. I'll explain, you know, what I think are the problems with it, but I'll try and do it justice and explain how I would probably think to play this the best. So, Splatana Wiper has a whole bunch of different firing modes and a whole bunch of different combos that it can try and do. So, some advantages of it are that it's lightweight, it has an insanely fast strafe speed. Like, this is way faster than most weapons can move while they are shooting at the same time. So that's really beneficial for it. Its combat range is exactly the same as its painting range, unlike something like the splatter shot, which paints from this distance, but cannot hit something from this distance. So let's take a look at how the splatter shot is. So I'm going to move straight to the left from here. From the paint, it looks like it outranges the Splatana Wiper. It does not outrange the Splatana Wiper. So the Splatana Wiper actually has pretty close to like dually Squelcher's range on these shots. So that's a super nice thing about it. And of course it can one-shot. Now the at this point we're going to get to some of the weaknesses of it. For one thing, the shots that can fire at this range are extremely slow. Like, look at how fast that splatted compared to that. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, 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 tap. That's pretty slow. The dually Squelcher's is pretty slow, but this is tap, 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 tap. Way, way slower. It just takes a really long time to splat someone with this weapon, even if you're very accurate with it. Another problem with it is that its one-shot range is very short. In order to get the one-shot, you need to physically hit them with this weapon. That is not close enough. A roller absolutely one-shots from here. I think a carbon roller one-shots from here. Let me take a quick look and confirm that that's the case. Okay, it doesn't quite one-shot from there. This was about the right spot. Okay. Ah, shoot, I shouldn't have moved. Okay. So this is 100 flat. That's for the carbon roller one-shots. Does this even one-shot from here? Okay, it does get there. So it's the same one-shot range as the carbon roller, which is like... The carbon roller doesn't get a lot of one-shots, frankly. A lot of the time, the carbon roller has to swing twice. Because getting up that close to someone is just too dangerous when there are weapons in the game that splat you this quickly from this far away. Like, how do you plan on getting that one shot on a splatter shot that can do that? Or that can do this? At least with the splat roller... Where in the world? I totally went past it, but I can't see where it is. Where's my splat roller? Splat roller, there you are. The splat roller one-shots from, like, out maybe here? Hereabouts? Yeah, it's about like this. So, we're pretty close to it. So, like, I'm only maybe, like, a couple of steps into the splatter shot's range before I'm able to one-shot it. I don't have to get nearly as close to it. But the Splatana Wiper does really have to get close. And yes, it has the dash to help it close the distance, but even that doesn't close as much distance as the roller can by just flicking. So this one shot is way, 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 way slower than the roller's is, because even though this kill time is about the same right here, the fact that you have to close so much more distance makes it a lot less likely that you're going to be able to get that in that short amount of time. And closing the distance, that dash definitely makes it a lot slower than a roller one-shot. So, in terms of being able to one-shot, if you're trying to play it like an ambush weapon, you just pick a roller. Or like, I don't know, a sploosh or something like that, which has a very fast, reliable kill time as long as it does get that close. Whereas this thing is going to be a lot slower in that regard. Now, obviously, those other weapons can't kite back as fast as this weapon can, but in most fights, you're not going to be able to use both the one-shot capability and the kiting capability at the same time. You're usually going to want to do one or the other. And so, are you going to try and position yourself to like a Dually Squelchers player, where you're trying to kite people back and do this sort of thing, and like play right at the edge of their range and bother them? Or are you going to try and go up and try and one-shot them? If you're trying to one-shot them, you play a roller. If you're trying to kite them, you play a Dually Squelchers. I have yet to be convinced that there is utility in being able to do both on the same weapon, when the trade-off is that it does both of those things so much worse than either of those things do. Now, one thing that helps the weapon a lot is its combo potential with the torpedo. So, for example, if I hit one of these and then roll a torpedo, that's a damage combo. And that's one of my faster options, actually, in terms of time to kill. So you could do this sort of thing. You also have this sort of combo potential on the Stamper, which is, I think, a substantially stronger main weapon. So if the combo potential is what you're after, and like this nice combo of like having range and being able to hit from far away, then that's probably what I would aim for instead. Because the torpedo hitbox isn't that big. Like, you need to hit the 60. I think that's actually smaller than a burst bomb by a significant margin. But let me double check that before I say that out loud to everybody in the stream. Yeah, that's definitely smaller. So you had a better shot of hitting them with the burst bomb. Plus the burst bomb comes out quicker, and you don't have to worry about it locking onto someone if you don't want it to. The torpedo is nice for poking and for like forcing backliners to like look at it. So like again, torpedo is a pretty solid option for it, but I still think you'd probably prefer the Splatana Stamper. And the hammer is doing absolutely nothing for this weapon, because the hammer is still, I think, despite being buffed like it is, one of the weakest specials in the game. Its problem is that it's a melee weapon in a projectile-based game, and it's so flankable. The best thing you can do with the hammer a lot of the time is throw it, and if you're just playing the hammer to throw it, why not just get a Trizuka and get 3 tries? So, yeah. I don't think it does enough DPS. I think it's just kill time is too slow with any of its different options for it to do something unique and better than other weapons do. That has been my opinion for a while. And I haven't seen you know, a top-level player using it in such a way that it changes that opinion yet. So that's where I'm at on the Splatana Wiper. If I were to try and play it, I would try and find some way to meld the melee playstyle and the kiting playstyle. You just kind of like pick whatever works best. I'd be trying to play for a lot of these combos where I hit Charge Slash plus rolled Torpedo. I would be trying to throw torpedoes into crowded areas and try to play to spam this thing so that I can poke at the enemy team, and then maybe if, you know, they take some damage, I'm able to then follow up with a Charge Slash to finish them off. And then, you know, occasionally as a mix-up, maybe you go for a shark play just to keep them honest. That's where my thought is at. What are the Stamper's problems? I wonder if it has the same problems as the Wiper. So the Stamper can play from further away than, like, a lot of other weapons can. Its range is one of the big things that sets it apart from the Wiper. I still don't think it's great. It's kind of hard to play around. But the difference here is that while the Splatana Wiper, you know, hits from maybe, like, here at max range, this thing is, like... I think this still hits. Yeah. Like... Does this hit? Okay, we're right about here is where it stops hitting. Yeah. This is longer range than the Bamboozler and the Squiffer. Like, this is really, really serious range for a midline weapon to have. And so it can sit way further back than the Stamper can and deal damage with its Burst Bomb, which it can throw out a lot more frequently, so it can get this damage combo going a lot better. And this makes it a really good kind of chip damage weapon. Like, it's something that if your 96 hits a single shot, it can just do that and splat someone from a pretty long distance away. Or it can do this to splat someone from an obscene distance away. It can Burst Bomb someone. The Wiper doesn't have quite as consistent damage over that much range. And it also, if it's at melee range, it still has that one shot that it can do. These shots are also a lot bigger and more consistent. So I think it's better. I still don't think it's great. It's got a very slow kill time, and it's very vulnerable to being rushed down. So the player needs to be very evasive, needs to play very safe. And then another nice thing about it is that it does have a little bit of synergy with Zipcaster in that it does have a one-shot, so as soon as it gets to someone, it can threaten them with that one-shot, and it can be kind of a menace in the backlines there. That is one of the few places where I would say to go for that one-shot, unless you get closed on unexpectedly. So that's why I think it's a little bit better. It's the Splatana Wiper is at a range where it needs more DPS to be effective. I think the Stamper still splats pretty quickly in comparison, but also has so much more range. I have some extra birthday money. I'm at work at the moment. I'll have to watch the VOD. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Hydro Airplane. I really appreciate that. It's very kind of you. We'll put that towards the cat cam fund. What do you think of the mini Splatling now that it has a special? It has a bad special, is the thing. It does have a special now. It's just not a good one. The problem with Ultra Stamp, again, like I said, is you'd prefer an Ink Zuka to it if you're trying to throw it. And if you're not trying to throw it, well, you're using a melee weapon now. So it's not a huge advantage. Got over basically anything. Thoughts on Flingza Roller? It's the best roller in the game at the moment. Purely because Tenta Missiles are so powerful. And this thing farms them very well. There are a lot of weapons that have Tenta Missiles, and a lot of them even paint pretty well. But this is one of the few weapons that has Tenta Missiles, can paint pretty well, and actually stands a chance in a fight if you close on it. Because it can just do this and kill you. Or it can hold its ground like this and make you respect this area, while also painting a lot. Flingza slots into a lot of different team comps, because all it needs is like a good straight line area to be able to paint in, And then as soon as it gets his special, which it's going to get very quickly, it's an asset to any fight that the team decides to take, regardless of where it's positioned. So, Fling's it's definitely a very supportive weapon, but it also has the potential to go aggro when it needs to, which is important, I think. I think a weapon that you know is just not going to be able to push you that well, like a Reflux, is immensely weaker, despite the fact that it outputs so many more Tentamissiles than this thing does. Any medium-level comp tips? Learning callouts is going to take up a part of your brain that you have not had to use on the game before, and you will... Every aspect of your game will suffer while you're still learning them. So doing things like memorizing the callouts you're going to use, even just something as simple as like learning how to refer to the weapons quickly, like shot instead of splatter shot, gal instead of 52 gal, jet instead of jet squelcher. Just getting those little abbreviations down that everybody knows is going to be really useful to you, and kind of having that in your brain before you have to do anything with them. Opinion on Inkblot Art Academy. It's the low end of competitively viable. It's fine. It's not bad. But by Splatoon 2 standards, it was kind of mid. In Splatoon 3, it's one of the best maps in the game, because so many Splatoon 3 maps are just not good for competitive play. General tips on how to position yourself as an anchor. I can't tell too well when I'm too close or far from an ideal position. One of the most important things for determining your positioning on any weapon is knowing the advantage state. If we were to take a big team fight right now and just hard commit, everybody balls to the wall, we are fighting now, would we win this fight? The answer to that question determines what you should be doing. If you are ahead, if you're at an advantage, you want to be pushing forward on the objective line. If you're behind, you want to be pushing back on the objective line. And you always want to be able to engage the enemy team at max range from where it's safe to stand. So if they are out of your range, you are out of play. You are not having an impact. Your team is basically in a 3v4 without you. If you are too close, if your opponents are in range, now you're not playing safe enough and your team will not be able to jump to you. So on offense, you want to play to lock in the space that your team is going to be able to take by pushing forward. And on defense, you want to back up far enough that it's going to be safe for your teammates to jump to you and try to start using you as a base of operations to push back in. Okay, how do I dodge charges with splat dualies if I have to get close enough to them to splat them? You really want to be... At top level, I expect that if a charger gets charge in time, and I am not behind cover when they do, I am dead. Trying to make a charger miss is just a lottery ticket. Instead, what you want to be doing is position in such a way that you can get on top of them after they have fired a shot and splat them before they can fire another shot. And until then, do not be in their sight lines unless they're definitely aiming at someone else. Any good way to use Jet now, or do we wait for another kit? The way to use Jet now is to learn the main weapon so that when another kit comes out, you're ready to go on it. That's about all I can say for it. I don't think its kit is great. Doing well, Potato. Thanks for asking. Hi, is this Gem from Squid School? We have come to talk about your car's extended warranty. I don't want any! What's the best playstyle for 52? You walk forward and assert dominance. You put up a wall and be like, I two-shot you in 18 frames. What are you going to do about it? And they're like, I probably can't do anything about that, Mr. 52 gal. I'll back up. And that's how you make space for your team. And if they do challenge you, you're like, well, you messed up, and you delete them in 18 frames. Why don't you become affiliate? because one of the conditions of the affiliate agreement is that I cannot simultaneously live stream to another platform, and I get more viewership and also better monetization from YouTube right now. So it is more worth it for me to not be affiliate and be able to monetize YouTube than it is for me to be affiliate and not be able to monetize YouTube as effectively. And all the same features that you can get from being on Twitch are still available on YouTube. Like, if someone wanted to sub to me on Twitch, they can become a YouTube member, and it's the same thing. The real disadvantage is just that I'm giving up Prime subs. That's basically the main thing I'm giving up out of that. Prime subs and channel points. People like channel points, not that they're, like, monetizable or anything, but, I mean, it's something that you would have if I were affiliate that you don't have now. But even that, I think YouTube is working to fix right now. So, I think right now YouTube's the better place to be. Is Splat Roller or Carbon Roller a better main weapon? Or which roller is the best main? If Carbon had something it could combo with, like a Burst Bomb, I would have to check and see what the kill times are. In Splatoon 2, the reason Carbon Deco was better was that even though the main weapon was very inconsistent to one-shot with, because you had to get so close with it, you could buff that up a little bit by running MPU, and you also had a Burst Bomb on the Deco kit that you could use to combo. And that combo was very fast, so fast, in fact, that it was the fastest way you could possibly kill someone through armor. Because since it was a two-shot combo, the first hit shredded the armor, and then the second shot would kill. So that was why Carbon had such a niche as the premier ambush predator weapon in Splatoon 2. I think without ink armor, that niche is significantly less important, but if it does have a faster kill time with a burst bomb, which I can't test because it doesn't have a burst bomb, then it might still be a really solid kit. It would just depend on what special it gets and how fast that kill time is. How do I dodge chargers if I have to... I did answer that question, Caleb. Cool. I spent some time answering that earlier. What problems do the bows have, and which do you think is better? Tri-stringer, definitely better than Reflux, in my opinion. Because the Tri-stringer can actually control space. The Reflux, I have yet to be convinced that people can reliably aim that thing well enough to do decent damage with it. It's going to paint better, and it's going to get a really good special, but that's all you can count on with it. And there are other weapons that get that special that people are preferring for their ability to actually fight sometimes. Tri-stringer is hard, and it's one of those weapons that I'm going to take a very long time to learn. But it is overall more of an impact on the map. It has better range. It's able to contest things like E-liters because it can hit up over ledges with its arrows. So it can do stuff like that and target that player over there and do almost lethal damage that way. In a very similar way to the Explosher plays. To how the Explosher plays. It's a very versatile weapon. The problem is it has so many tools, so it's really hard to learn. But only like one of those tools is ever going to be good in any given situation. And you need to know exactly what it is and to use it very quickly. So it's a very difficult weapon to learn, and it's something that I'm still not very good at. Yeah. Tri-stringer is a viable backline weapon. I wouldn't say it's the strongest backline weapon. I'd still take an Explo over it. But it's definitely something that is valuable. Like, if you want a whale instead of a rain, that would be a reason to run it. I guess if you really want Toxic Mist over the point sensor, they're both not great. Like, I think you definitely, if you're a top-level team and you're just playing for the best comp you can make, you probably grab an Explo instead, but it can play very similarly to the Explo and have similar results. And maybe there's some Reflux players out there who can aim it well enough to actually reliably make use of the main weapon in combat. I have not encountered them, though. and I have not seen that being used that effectively at top-level play. At top-level play, they're just missile spamming with it if they run it. And I think that while it is a thing you can do to play a weapon exclusively to special spam, I think having a weapon that can do something besides spam its special, even if you are going to special spam with it, is really important. That's why I think that the Junior is such a good support weapon. It's not just that it paints really well and gets a really important special and has splat bombs, and so it can play that passive play style. It's that if you really need that thing to, it can take a fight. And it can have a really fast time to kill. Same thing with N-Zaps and, you know, the Kensa Splatter Shot from Splatoon 2. Those things were versatile weapons. They could do other things besides play support, whereas something like an Arrow Spray or a Reflux, they can only support. That is the only thing that they do any better than, like, anything else. I'll be your first Reflux Slayer. Good luck with that. I do not endorse this use of your time, but if you want to, then make it happen. Skirmisher Fling is a good idea. So, the Flingza you would consider more of a support weapon than a skirmisher, but if it's going to be in combat, it is going to be a skirmisher. Like, it's going to play largely to do damage from a range or from over cover in a way that other weapons cannot. And that's how it's going to get used. That's what its advantage is, if it's going to fight. It's either that or it's going to, like, shark someone and play Slayer for a minute, but realistically, most of the time, it's using those vertical flicks to just keep someone back and be like, nope, you can't go there. Nope, nope, you don't get to go there either. Nope, nope, stay back, get out of here. Similar to how, like, a Rapid Blaster would play. Is Sploosh better now that there's an actual special tacked onto it? Again, it is a special now, but it is a bad special. Ultra Stamp was one of the weakest specials in the game in Splatoon 2, and it still is, even though it has been buffed at this point in Splatoon 3. Do not give me that claim. I do not want to be seen. I do not want them to perceive me. Well. We're losing everything here. Let's just try and paint up and slow them down a little bit as they try to push in. That was a bad idea, because the player on the right knew that I was committed to that and was able to just get in there. And it's Broshi! They might be streaming now. Well, there's two here. Man. Oh my god. We really need to stop this angle so that they can't just win the game. No. Oh, it's Becca, too. Is this a stream squad? Are they all playing together? Oh my god. Nobody is paying attention to this player. Nobody knows they're there. I'm gonna cut that off real quick. Okay, there's nobody sharking up there. Oh my god. We have no control right now. Oh my god, I missed. Oh, that didn't kill? That's unfortunate. That's one. Where are these? Man, that just felt like we were at a constant numbers disadvantage. There are a couple of fights I lost, but it was like, I'm in a 2v4, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. What's the difference between hero shot and splatter shot? One of them looks way better. Hero shot is a bottom tier weapon, even though it's completely identical in terms of gameplay. Oh, is Ahmed also a streamer? I don't think getting 3 shots with the Zuka is a problem as long as you position to use them well. I did not. But I maintain that having those 3 shots is much more valuable, and that the weakness that you have in terms of mobility while you're firing it shouldn't matter, because you should be playing it from pretty close to a backline position to be able to use its range instead of just getting closed on. Broad tips for Sploosh-O-Matic players or for better weapons to play instead. Sploosh itself is going to be like a rat that lives in your walls. It's going to try and get into positions where it's hard for you to spot it. It's hard for you to see it coming. It's going to take angles that you're not used to having to watch. It's just going to be a general nuisance because at any point in time, it could just get on top of you and splat you very quickly. This is a bad idea. Yeah. Well, same team we're playing against. See what we can do this time. Just trying to make sure that they don't get anybody over the top here. So it looks like that's what they're trying to do. Yep. Throw that behind them so that if they try to back up, they ran into it. They did not back up. They just splatted my teammate and ran forward. Oh, boy. Looks like our brush is doing the run to the basket with clams and just put a power clam in and then die thing. Which is beaten by exactly what our team just did, which is just push the basket, but better. We need a little bit more help to get forward pressure coming out of here. We don't have a lot of paint. I'm trying to paint as much as I can, but that is somewhere where they're just going to beat us in general. So we're getting closed on gradually over time. Because it's hard to find a place to stand. Okay, should be cleared. Okay, come on now. Okay, that's one down. Signal that we're going that way, and then do one of these. Nice. Okay, and there's lead. Let's drop back, get some more clams, because we're in a good position to do so. Oh, that was a good drop. I thought they were going to get faked out and think that I had gone forward and aimed that way. But they did track me as I moved backwards. They had a good camera angle to see it. But good push overall. Definitely puts us in a much more comfortable position than we were in. Ooh. And our brush is doing things. Whoa! Okay, well... It's hard to go in and help with that fight, thinking about it, because I'm just going at exactly the same angle as the brushes. Oh my goodness. And that's gonna be game. They only need 3 more clams. That's 1 more pod. Yeah. There was not a lot of pressure being put on the choke point into the left side of the basket at all. Like, I was trying to throw bombs at it when I could, but that's something that, like, we really needed to be locking down better than we were, and I felt like we had the tools to do it. We had a lot of bombs. Something like a machine will hit over down into the corner there really well. So I don't know if we just weren't putting enough players on the left-hand side or what, because we just never had control of that area of the basket when they were trying to push. Squid rolls were a replacement for substrafe. Should probably look at how to use substrafing now. No, they are not a replacement for substrafing. They are considerably slower for turning around corners. So, like, with a squid roll, if I want to go around this corner, I'm going to be like... Oops. Get a little more space here. So I'm going like, Oh my god. I'm not trying to land on this. I'm trying to go past it. There we go. This, and then... Oh my goodness. This. It's not super quick, whereas substrafing... I'm trying to do a demonstration here, game. All I needed was 2 more seconds. Unbelievable. No teaching, only Zool. I'm gonna peek out over here and watch this. Make my presence known here. Maybe draw someone over to this side. Oh, hello there. You've been drawn to me, I see. Very nice, very nice. Yes, good. Now, one thing that's... I should go over from the left side here. Oh my god, climb the wall! Ugh, I lost too much time for that. I don't think I actually do have the time to... Why are you not chasing me? They could have chased me and been on top of me in a position where that was dangerous to me. Hello? Hello? Over here? Teammate went the other way, I guess, when I had my back turned. Now they're going to die, because there was only one of them there in the middle of 2 players. I lost my train of thought there. So that's an example of the advantage that the splatter shot has in slaying over the junior. The junior had to push so much closer into my range, and it took a while to be able to splat me even when it did. Ugh. That was really well played by them. They had just enough charge to be able to splat me, and they got it really quick. Am I down below? No, I'm not. Good. I didn't want it. I like poking around this side at first, because if I catch someone running away from the left, I can cut them off there. And it's also a direction where if they really try to push me super hard there, my teammates usually see it and they're able to collapse with me, and I have a lot of room to run away to and maybe jump out if I need to. Obviously, you never want to do the same thing too often, and it's great. Doc Rush just kind of gets me there, because I didn't know that they were there. Teammate led them in the direction of me. It's just kind of one of those unfortunate solo queue things that happens sometimes. Well, you're not getting any further than that. Hello? What was the Booyah Bomb for? We could have just shot them and had them down faster before they scored more. But if you're going to use the Booyah Bomb there, I figure you use it to suppress the Hydra. But remember, the Booyah Bombs are slow. They are not just like a free pass to splat another player. They take some setup. That is the importance of setting your aim, because if I didn't set my aim, Hydra has a faster time to kill, and they just snapped me on reaction and splat me. But I definitely didn't play that great against the Aqua Brush. I need to be respecting their range a little bit more, not thinking I can just like walk in and splat them immediately. I'm gonna need some help back here. This is looking really hairy. I'm dead to that bomb. Please, please, team, on the left. Oh no. Okay. Jeez. Yeah, we needed to be a lot further back on defense than we were in that situation. It was definitely scary. We've got some space to work with. I'm checking to make sure that there's nobody dropping out left here. We did get one over there, which is awesome. So now we can focus on this. Oh. Alright, good job on the ink fact. That actually helped a lot with that push. Someone shoot them, please? No? Okay. This is bad. They only need to put in a power clam. So we need to be really tough on defense here. Okay, cool. Hydra's down. That's huge. Clam is down. Okay. Whew. That was a little too close. What rank am I? I'm like S plus 16 or something. Is it practical to charge hold squid roll with chargers? It's something you can do. If you're like popping out into an area where you're expecting you might get shot, could definitely be useful. If you're like trying to use the squid roll for movement, like the squid roll is actually pretty useful for movement in some cases, because it's a combination of like going airborne and moving sideways that you don't get from other means. So like, let's say I'm trying to climb up this whole stack here. If I'm trying to climb it, I have to have a whole bunch of steps there and make a whole bunch of ledge cancels. If I'm trying to jump, I have to do... Oops. I accidentally did it there. If I'm trying to jump, I have to do this sort of thing. Whereas with squid rolls, once you get the hang of them, you can do this sort of thing to cut corners and get up over those ledges while doing a very short jump. And that's something where, like, the combination of the change in direction and the jump is something that you can't really get as fast by other means. So there are definitely uses for it. And if out of any of those things you want to take a charger shot, then absolutely go for it. So I'd probably actually do this, swim, do this, and do this to get up that as quickly as possible. And again, anytime you wanted to fire a charger shot out of those, absolutely go for it. Is Splatoon a game where it's hard to carry by yourself in solo queue? Absolutely not. If you are better than the majority of players that you are playing with, you absolutely should be having a higher win rate and climbing out of that eventually. You will still lose games here and there, but if you are significantly better than those players, you will be able to have an outsized impact on games, and that will ultimately lead to you winning more than you lose. So here's the thing about forward squid rolls and chaining them and everything. I don't think they're useful. I don't think there's a point to doing that. It's slower than just swimming. So I don't know when I'm ever going to use that tech. Crap. We had a player go down, and so one side was less defended, and so they slipped through. I couldn't focus on both of those sides at once. And I did put myself in a pretty vulnerable... Ooh, that's a really nasty shark. But I thought that with someone pushed up that far, that someone would have already checked that. So... Oof. Man, this is really bad. You can't hit me. I knew there was going to be someone trying to come up there to score, try to finish the game. This player's going to try and run away. They're going to get cut off from there. Someone went over on the right. Are they still in our base? Let's just take a quick detour around this way. Yep. Okay, hopefully they're able to score before someone's able to jump something into Octoboy. Okay, good. You didn't see me coming. Haha. Well, that was awkward. What? How did I get that kill? Excuse me? Are they about to DC on us? That was so laggy. Oh man, yeah, this game is... Someone's about to DC. Someone DC'd on the other team. Yep, there we go. Communication error. Yeah, it would actually be a pretty nice quality of life thing if they would show, like, on the you splatted so-and-so, just, like, a picture of, like, main weapon, sub, or special. Granted, it's going to be a mix of those sometimes. Like, you might get a combo, but, like, what got the last hit, at least, would be a nice thing to see. Is that even faster than just... Oh my god. Let me try... It always cuts me off right when I'm about to find the answer to one of my questions. Squidroll... Squidroll gives you armor, yes. It gives you ink armor. Makes it so that you have 30 HP and can tank lethal damage if you're at full health. Unless it's like a 220 hit or something. You know the way that that is played. Ah. Good shots by the blaster. I was just kind of getting pinched. I should have hard committed to left earlier. And then maybe I would have only had to deal with, like, the one member over there. But they played their defense pretty well. Jeez, that's a lot of firepower from a lot of directions. They already had the rapid set up really far in and the heavy, and I was not paying enough attention to how far they had advanced. So, this is going to be tricky. They'll probably get lead off of this if they play their cards right. Oh, but they're all... I don't think anyone's going back and getting clams. I don't think they have anything ready to go. Okay, they've got one player who goes down here. And then this player is really weak, and my teammate finishes that off. And okay, cool, we kept lead. Not by a lot, and we need to paint a lot right now, but... Careful there, Octonaut. I'm worried for your safety. Yep. Oh, they went airborne, and I couldn't quite get the shots in time. If someone had pushed up with me, they would have gone down really quickly. We did end up getting them, actually. Okay, we're good, we're good. My death was not in vain. I'm just gonna wait out the wave breaker. Actually, I'm just gonna try and push right here. I do not like the... Ugh. They're pinching in so well, and we're not applying any pressure to either side of the map, so they get to just kind of collapse around us. Like, a lot of these fights are them just, like, walking up at us. But, I don't know if maybe the heavy's displacing people, or it's getting difficult to stand in places because of the rapid, but... kind of letting them up. Alright. They're so weak. Oh my god! The player's so weak! They jumped off the ledge and we couldn't stop them in time. Oh my god. Well, okay. We only need Power Clam plus 2. Actually, no, we need Power Clam plus 3. Because 2 ties them. Ugh, we're having so much trouble pushing in on these players. Like, I need someone to set up the fight for the against, like, the rapid, where I can actually get in and engage them. How did that not hit? Man. Well, I'm dead. I was almost not dead, but nobody paid attention to the splash that was fighting me. Careful there, me. Get out of there, get out of there, get out of there. Okay, we kept them safe. Probably still get scored on if this keeps up. That's one. There was another one. Did we get the other one? Yeah, we got the other one. That was the splash. Okay, start moving up. Oh, they're so weak. I'm not gonna get this, though. I need to wait until they, like... Oh, shoot. Push me, push me. Okay, we trade there. Well, that's a dead Zipcaster. Let's try and hold the right here. I don't like it because I don't have great line of sight. Ooh, let's go, let's go. We are nowhere near where we need to be right now to capitalize on that. We just ran in one at a time. As soon as we get that advantage, we need to be, like, at their basket with a clam ready. Like, I get if one person's backing up to get more clams, but at this point, I literally can't even make it to their basket in time. Like, yeah, time ends before the power clam goes down or anything. So the fact that, like, 2 of us were pushing basket, but then one of us was back left corner and the other was back right corner, that was not great coordination. Starting to main Tetradualies. Any tips? The weapon's very aggressive. Run a lot of quick respawn and engage the enemy team very often. And try to gain advantages with your main weapon, because that's really all that you have to work with. Your value to the team is the picks you get with your main weapon, and that's it. So it's a very extreme weapon. Learn to be aiming your shots even in the middle of a roll instead of just at the end of a roll. Most dualies only fire once the roll is over, but not tetras. They fire 2 shots in the middle. You need to be using those shots to decrease the tetra's time to kill. Because otherwise it's a very slow firing, or not slow firing, slow killing weapon compared to a lot of other slayers. And it's important to be able to roll to throw their shots off in the middle of splatting them. Hi, Jules is Kitty. When will there be Kitty merch? Ah, yes, I'm going to monetize Romeo. We'll figure something out. So there's a heavy over there, and this looks like the same team. I think this is the same team that we're fighting against. Well. Okay, we got the trade. 2 for 2. I'm getting punished a lot for my Trizuka placement, so I need to be more mindful of what's around me before I try for something like that. Do we get this? Not quite. Throw a bomb and we flee. Oh, I was hoping that bomb would help. Crap. I'm trying to wait for a fight I like, and I'm not finding it before someone engages elsewhere on the map and goes down. I can try and play a little bit closer to my teammates, but, like, how am I supposed to get in to help that teammate there? I don't really understand what I can do to support that push. I pushed in, you know, and it still wasn't in range, but I still went down. I got punished for trying to do so. Ah. There's no pressure on the Rapid Blaster, so I am in a lot of trouble. Bomb down here. Oh my god. We can probably rush this down. Yes, okay. That was an important pick. Two down, and I might get rushed from over here, so I'm just going to back up. I think I'm going to try and go. Zip past up there, so this player knows I'm here. They're going to lose this from the bridge going away, so they need to jump for it now, and they're going to feed in. We still really do not have an answer to this rapid. It's getting into really tough positions to contest it from. It saw me probably when the clam got picked up. It looked like it didn't see me, and then it just turned and directed me right away. I'm like, oh. Okay. Two down. Why are we going in? That's one. I'm surprised I didn't hit. I needed to aim lower, I guess. Oops. That was supposed to be an ouch. It was a very useless this way. That's two down. I'm gonna try and get something done. And we all died elsewhere. That's one of them. We gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go. What? Oh no. So I guess someone flanked left and we were trying to jump it in. It would have been good for me to spot that, but also I didn't have time to push up to support it anyway. Most I could get up there was a bomb, probably. I don't know if I'm not doing a good enough job at positioning with my teammates, or if I'm just not getting an opportunity to, because a fight gets engaged on before I can get there. Don't have Ninja Squid on. Yeah, that's true. Like, I'm aware of that. Just, they were looking 90 degrees away from me, so I didn't think they would spot it. Yeah, I'm wearing this gear to farm swim speed. It's all crack-on stuff. Hello, Oscar. Never been sure if tenacity is actually worth running or not. Maybe on, like, a Splatoon 2 Jet Squelcher? There are probably a few cases, but it depends on your teammates dying to be useful, so it's not exactly a vote of confidence to be using it. Oh, crack on ninja shirt? That's nice. Okay, so we've got some mid-line, good amount of paint. We'll have to play pretty aggressively here to make space for them. And once again, we are playing against the Rapid Pro and the Heavy. Oh, I thought I had a clam. Oh. They probably ninja squidded there. Yeah, they had ninja squid. Opening Gambit on that bamboozler. That's an interesting decision. Might just be farming deer at this point. That kind of a build. Very clean. Now I just have to stop this guy. Alright, whatever. Didn't quite get it, but we got a triple to clean it up, so... We just paint up, prevent them from getting anywhere else. We got the heavy down already, which is awesome. Oh, I'm probably dead to this. No, I'm not. Definitely did mess with the angle I wanted on the Trezuka. They're approaching the top mid. You gotta watch out for that, because if the brush gets up on top of you, it's gonna take a while before you're actually out of their effective range. Even if you drop off the wall, you actually don't get away from them that fast. We are so incredibly spread out right now, it is really dangerous. Everyone's in 1v1s. If they were to group up and just engage on anybody right now, they would win. Shoot! I did not pay enough attention to the bomb. Saw it too late. It's just the one guy. It was just the one guy. Man, they're still in there too. Alright, good pick. Hopefully they don't die to the rapid. They die to the rapid. That's unfortunate. We're still going to be behind on numbers. We need to play a little safe. Okay, cool. So we won against the rapid there. That's actually huge for us. Oh, we need to stop letting the brush do that. Man. That actually would have been on target. They just moved. Smart of them. I didn't want to get close enough to them that they would be in range, but I think I got scared over by something. I'm trying to deny the Octo Brush from being able to get up here, and this is not a good situation for us. Back it up. If they start coming around the corner, man, I'm playing really patient here. That line cut the Octo Brush off from being able to get up there again. Not the wisest decision. There were other people that could hit me besides the heavy, even though they couldn't hit me. Cool, 2 down. I don't think we get this. We only have 2 up. Nobody has a clan. Yeah, we don't even get to the power clan before time runs out. Not a great game on my part. It's just a lot of longer range threats that I'm struggling to deal with. I also got caught a lot by the Octo Brush before I figured out what they were doing on top mid. What is Glicko? Glicko 2 is a system of ranking that is an improvement on the ELO system made by a guy named Glickman, hence Glicko. It is a matchmaking system that is built into Splatoon. It's much more heavily used by Splatoon 2. I'm actually coming out with a video on this probably tomorrow, so you'll learn more about it then. But Splatoon 2 used it a lot differently from Splatoon 3. It's a lot less active in Splatoon 3's matchmaking, which I perceive to be an issue with Splatoon 3 matchmaking. Yeah. It has a measure of deviation, a volatility rating that distinguishes it from Elo. Open instead of series. Yes, you can rake up a lot faster in series. But I'm also just streaming and didn't want to focus so heavily. Can you explain your build? I'm farming swim speed and using the gear that gets me swim speed that closest approximates what I would want to run on a splatter shot. Well, if you want to drop right in front of the Trizuka, be my guest. Let's try and work with someone who's taking a fight here. Let's just run around over here. That didn't work especially well. I needed to get the shots on the slushing machine sooner. I think that's a more winning fight if I do that. It did set us up to get a couple of picks, though, so I'm not super upset about it. No. Did they this way and then die? Or did they this way after? Oh, yeah, and then die immediately. Because you can't this way, and I am being silly. You will ouch in that situation. I can get in. Oh, okay, we got that player already. Neat. Let's start painting forward. There's usually someone who comes out that way. Got one. Can I get that? Nah, not quite. I'm gonna get rushed. So there I waited until the Stamper had somebody else they needed to look at, and only then did I engage on them. Oh man, this might just be... Okay, good shot from the Charger. That honestly probably lets them close the basket by itself. Because I was the one with the clams that were going to reset it. And as soon as they got me, there's nothing there. That was a very exposed position they decided to take that they didn't have to take out in the open. I think they were expecting that I was going to run away, so they were trying to push around, but like, if I'm in range, I win that fight 100% of the time. Oh, it's a main fact shot. Booyahing. That's one down. We just need to stop this one, and then they don't have any clams in the basket anymore. Okay, good job from the Brilla. They stayed alive. They got someone. Hope someone helps them soon. There we go, there we go. Good job, good job. We trade those back, we win. That was ballsy, to say the least. I should die for this, yes. Two for two trade. Not the worst thing that could have happened, I guess. Yeah. This is an ink vac. Ooh. Nice. Good follow-up. They just stood still. They were not hitting me, and they did not move. I'll just take those 2 clams, because I figured my teammate was about to die. The only way I make it out of that safely is if my teammate lives and is able to, like, watch that angle as I retreat. And in a 2v4, I didn't figure that was going to happen, so I'll just get my 2 clams. Let's threaten them from over here. And that is how you use cover to close distance, and also how you miss shots, but, I mean, we're probably still okay. There's only 2 of them. That makes it in, probably. At worst, they get another one jumped in, but I don't think they have anyone else close enough to that. Oh, this is actually really bad. Okay. Rush goes down. This jump goes down. That's game. Must throw to answer questions. This is how it must be. Have any tips for Dynamo? I've been trying to main it and feel like I'm struggling. Dynamo's not in a good place with its kit right now. It needs a kit that is better suited to it. Tacticooler is the worst special you could have given such a slow-moving, conspicuous weapon. So I think that there's some stuff we can talk about with the main weapon, but I think the big problem you're probably running into is just that it is very mismatched with its kit. Is this Splatoon 3? Yes, you can tell that from the category that it's streaming in. Well, wait, no, you're on YouTube. Never mind, never mind. Yeah, this is Splatoon 3. Dynamo Big Bubbler. YouTube streams are so confusing for me to navigate. Yeah, it's weird. Like, I end up being able to watch them a lot because they get recommended, but that's the only way that I feel like you can discover them. Like, it's not like you can just go somewhere and be like, who's streaming Splatoon 3 right now? You have to get it specifically recommended to you. You find the creator first, and their stream second. Whereas on Twitch, you find their stream, and then you're like, oh, hey, I like this person who's streaming. So it's an interesting difference of design there. But that is all the time that I'm going to have. I do need to close up shop for now. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I am Jem. I run Squid School. This is a list of the links that you can find Squid School at. So I've got a Twitter, I've got a TikTok, I've got a Discord server where you can come and get more resources for how to improve, meet other people like you who enjoy the show. I also have a Patreon and a Metafy account to try and make enough money to keep doing this full time, because that is what I've been able to do so far, and I'm really excited to be able to continue with it. So thank you, everybody, for watching, and for those of you who are here watching from Twitch, we are going to go and raid Becca, because we were just playing with Becca earlier. So here we go. Raid is getting started up, and I will be sending you guys off in 3, 2, 1. Have a good day, everybody.